Hey violinists, in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to share with you 10 essential techniques for every aspiring violinist. First and foremost, everybody needs to have a good rhythm. So I recommend that you use tools like sightreadingfactory.com, not sponsored, but you can use that tool online. I use that with my students to help them achieve better sight reading and also just get a sense of better rhythm. A lot of what we do as musicians is sight reading. So if we're learning from music for the first time, and we can easily get frustrated by not knowing what's on the page, especially the rhythm. We may know the notes, but not the rhythm. So I recommend that tool to help you with laying a good foundation for your violin playing. Number two, intonation. Rhythm and intonation are probably the top two most important things for any aspiring violinist, because in order to play music, you need to have good rhythm, and for you to be able to make a sound, like a good sound with the correct notes, you need to have good intonation. So by practicing your scales, your arpeggios will certainly help with that. A lot of Sevcik, Schradiak exercises will also help with that. And if you don't know what those are, I'm going to leave affiliate links down in the description below near the timestamp so that you can actually click on the link so you can get a better sense of what those are. But those exercises are designed to help you have better intonation and create firm finger action on the fingerboard. Number three, tone quality. This is where we start getting into the whole nuance of violin playing, because tone quality depends on how we put the bow on the string and use contact point. And a lot of my cello friends, a lot of my cellist friends actually, they talk about contact point religiously on their instrument, but we should be doing the same thing on the violin. So a tone here versus a tone here, two very different sounds, and I'm actually applying the same weight of my arm on two of those different contact points. So having a good tone will largely depend on the weight of your arm, your relaxation of your body, and just having a sense of what kind of sound you're going for. You know, not a scratchy sound, not a squeaky sound, all those types of sounds. Number four, posture. We want to have good posture while we're playing. This is not for visual reasons, but this is more so for our health, because if we are playing our violins like this, shriveled, and I always get a laugh from my students when I do it this way, you know, I look quite uncomfortable when I'm down here. I'm of the belief that if you have good posture, then you are able to play with a better sound, play with a better tone, play with better rhythm, play with better intonation, because the posture not just is not just for the visual, it's also for our mental clarity while we're playing our instrument. So having your strong core, strong stomach, and then the strong lower back kind of like lift you up a little bit will give you the confidence to play your violin. Moving on to the right hand. Number five, Franco-Belgian bow hold. The Franco-Belgian bow hold looks something like this. This allows a lot of flexibility for violinists. A lot of famous violinists actually use this Russian bow grip. Kavakos is using this Russian bow grip while he's performing nowadays. I don't recommend that for everybody, because the Franco-Belgian bow hold for every aspiring violinist creates flexibility in the right hand. And eventually, when you do have a properly set Franco-Belgian bow hold, you are allowed flexibility in the pinky. And that helps create that glue, that collé sound. I have a video on collé on the YouTube channel, so I'll leave that in the description below if you're ever interested in that. Number six, a straight left wrist. Straight left wrist is probably one of the more common topics I talk about with my students, and that's how I make my living. So I see a lot of students like this. I recommend having a straight left wrist because it creates an openness to the left hand versus a closed hand. And also my fingers are just not going to get into the right place in the right time and to get that really good intonation. So I always want a straight left wrist, because look what happens to my pinky. My pinky actually can reach farther as a result of my straight wrist. Number seven, violin on the shoulder. So what do I mean by this? So I see a lot of teachers probably teaching solo posture, you know, very Heifetz like, you know, violin up here, but this posture is not for everybody. And I find that people who come into my lessons, or students who come into my lessons with this posture, who have had a different teacher, end up having a lot of shoulder pain, a lot of tiredness. So what I recommend to do is from here to there. Now you can go the whole Suzuki method and then you can kind of teach nose to scroll, but you have to be careful with that as a teacher, because when I teach nose to scroll, sometimes kids overdo it, as they tend to, and you see this tension in the neck. So I really don't like the word chin rest. I think it should be a head rest, because you're resting your head. I mean, you are laying part of your chin and your jaw on the chin rest, but if you want to do the nose to scroll, you can. I personally, I kind of like switch in between, so just to find that comfort. So I'm right over here, and that allows me to be really organized with the violin. And going over to number 8, a straight bow, that actually relies on having good violin posture on the shoulder. So if my violin is out here, my entire setup on the right arm, the right hand, is very different. However, take a look at this. If my violin just goes in this way, my violin bow becomes straighter. Isn't that crazy? So just by moving the violin in, that solves literally all your problems with the straight bow. It may not even have to be a right arm problem. It could be a left violin shoulder problem. Number 9, knuckles over the fingerboard. So it depends on what kind of hand you have, whether you have small hands or large hands or long fingers and like long fingers and a small palm. It's a case by case basis, but the general consensus for young students, I usually have the knuckle touching the fingerboard. For some of my adult students or my high school students, I kind of use this part of the index finger to lay the neck on the violin. And either way, you want your knuckles to be farther up so that you have that agility and control over your instrument. And this is, again, going back to the whole fingertip placement of intonation back in point number 2, that you do this so that you can have good intonation. And last but not least, vibrato. Vibrato is one of those things that allow the ultimate expression out of a musical melody. And if you want to learn more, I have a course called Violin Vibrato Masterclass, which you can sign up for, and I go really in detail on violin vibrato. Or you can visit violinvibratomasterclass.com, and you can actually take a look at the preview lesson, and you can kind of take a look at the actual lessons that are in this course. So I encourage you to take a look at that. But if you're not ready, no pressure at all. I also have a bunch of other resources on violin playing and essentials. So thanks so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.